to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
All right, welcome back to This Week in Marketing. We are here talking about Art of Marketing 2019. Super stoked. We have a phone guest today, and Bill, I'm going to let you take this away. Do you want to give the introduction here?
Yeah, so Seth, are you on the line?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Seth. So Seth is, like I mentioned, Seth is one of those people who participated in our State of Marketing study, State of Marketing report. He is the Vice Chancellor of Marketing at the National University System. Seth is one of those people who, you know, when I went to Kirsty Nunes, who kind of did all the heavy lifting on that report and that event for us, she said, yeah, Seth is one of those people you really want to get involved in Art of Marketing if you can. So we reached out to Seth. He graciously agreed to join us as a keynote. His topic is called Uphill Both Ways, How to Make Meaningful Change When It Seems Like Everything's Against You. And also Seth is one of those guys I feel like I already knew before we started this process because he is kind of the creative brain behind Southern New Hampshire University's the bus tour campaign, right? Which we've all seen, we're all familiar with. So Seth is the guy that dreamed that up. So Seth, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning. I really appreciate the chance to be here and happy to connect.
Yeah, awesome. So Seth, tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up at National University and kind of some of the things that you're working on there.
Sure, absolutely. So let me see. I started in TV news for ABC News in upstate New York, transitioned that into a job at UCLA a couple jobs at UCLA for about a little less than 5 years. And I was there, worked through media relations into marketing, and got a chance to be really in like early days of social media work for the university back in 2007 and 8. Did a startup called Higher Ed Live. It's a live weekly web show network. I did that for a couple years. And then I really cut my teeth for the 4 years, which you had just mentioned, at Southern New Hampshire University, where I was for about 4.5 years, where I got to oversee, I really ran the creative for their advertising, national advertising campaigns specifically, and did about 7 campaigns, 35 national TV commercials in 4 years, and was part of the organization growing from 7,000 students to 70,000 students in 4 years, which was just a wild run. And then I bounced out to Utah, was the general manager of an ad agency out there, and then found my way about 2 years ago to National University System here in San Diego, where I'm the Vice Chancellor of Marketing and get to oversee marketing for National University as well as 3 other universities that we own and operate, and a series of nonprofits. And so it's been a bit of a winding road, but primarily higher education, and coming up really through the creative side, video, copy, and then now overseeing marketing as a whole.
So, Seth, tell us, if you can, in what ways education marketing is really different from other kinds of marketing, and then in what ways it's, there are learnings that you can share that are really applicable across a lot of different fields.
Sure, absolutely. So it's both really similar and really different. I'll say, the higher education market is highly competitive, and so I think probably just about everybody is going to be attending the upcoming conferences feeling competitive pressures. That's definitely the case. There's 4,000 colleges and universities in the U.S. So how do you stand out? You rely a ton on marketing and on branding in particular. And so I think the lessons that we learn in higher ed a lot of times are applicable other places, because for those of us that figure out how to stand out, we're using some fundamental principles that really work across. So competition is a big one. I'd also say I primarily work in the adult and online education space, which is interesting because it really means that we sell an intangible service. So that's very similar to financial advising and insurance and a lot of other areas where you're selling an online service instead of a physical product. And then finally, our customer acquisition costs or student acquisition costs are much higher. In higher education, people spend $2,000 to $6,000 per student that they generate. And what that means is bigger marketing budgets, and bigger marketing budgets just means, a chance to test more and make more mistakes and learn more things just because the budgets are bigger. And so big budgets in a highly competitive space, if nothing else, makes for interesting stories. And usually there's at least a few nuggets that kind of work across industries.
Awesome. So So tell us a little bit about kind of what you're working on at National University and what what some things that you're doing there are, some changes that you've kind of helped to lead, and what kind of benefits you're seeing from that.
Sure. So I came into National University System a couple years ago, and we were a small centralized marketing team with a very significant agency dependency. And so being that the space is really competitive, one of the first things that I really focused on doing is we built out an in-house agency model. And so we've taken the team from 23 to 52. Moved on from 4 agency relationships. Now we're buying all our media in-house. And managing that process entirely, and we've been able to increase the hours allocated, to our work, therefore increasing performance. And we've taken our working media dollars from about 78% up to 93%. And so that in-house agency model is not unique just to higher ed. It's really big right now in healthcare. And several other industries. And so, in all cases, what is the role of marketing internally, we really kind of try to turn that over and take the agency concepts in-house as much as possible. So that's involved, it took me 18 months to do a full restructure. We hired, 27 people in the past year. Great folks, really lucky. And that was a big focus. And so the concept was that, we operate 4 different universities that are all nonprofit, and we were going to centralize marketing as a service. And by centralizing it, it's a shared service model. It just makes us a little bit more efficient. And just the market's so competitive that we have to find every edge that we can. And so in this case, being able to save a little bit more money, be able to put more money into market and get more time on the accounts, all equates to just squeaking out a little bit more in performance. And so that's really been a big focus. And it's not just been the media buying, but also building out a full service creative team that does its own video production. Has been a big component as well. Just to give an example, we advertise extensively on Facebook for a lot of our universities, and in one of the universities' cases, we have anywhere from 300 to 600 different ads live on Facebook every single day. And those are all ads that are produced internally and in-house. And so we're able to use that in-house engine to produce more content, buy media faster, learn quicker, and again, everything we're trying to do is just squeak out. If we can learn a little bit faster than the next institution, we can just get a couple inches ahead, and over time it's going to add up.
So that's interesting. Is you talk a lot about the competition between these institutions. Is there also like a sharing of best practices, right? Or is it so competitive that you guys kind of hold your cards close to the vest?
Sure. So it's one of the things I love about higher education is that everybody is really open and really down to share what they're learning. And it's something that I've seen in particular at AMA Higher Ed, obviously, which is AMA's Higher Ed Conference. I had the chance to be on that committee for 3 years and help organize it. And it's just an amazing community of folks that are open and willing to share. And so am I. So that's why, there's not a fear of sharing best practices and tips and tricks because it's obviously a portion of it's always going to be unique to each institution. And so I found that it's just a really awesome community that's open as opposed to one that's really closed off and secretive. So it's a great community and a great industry to be a part of. And I think higher ed has that same kind of community and vibe that AMA has, which is just, marketers working hard, coming together to kind of share your wins as much as maybe your battle scars along the way of what you've learned.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about your keynote at Art of Marketing. I mean, if I had to kind of synopsize it, I would say it's all about extracting blood from a stone, right? How do you do really difficult things in marketing, which I definitely think is something that translates across a lot of different kinds of enterprises, right? Wherever budgets are constrained, and I know of very few places where they're not. So tell us a little bit more kind of about what you're going to be talking about and what's kind of inspired this train of thought for you.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really excited. The talk is called Uphill Both Ways, How to Drive Meaningful Change When Everything's Against You. And it's really focused on how to sell big ideas within cultures that sometimes are apprehensive to them. One of the biggest points of frustration among marketers that I always find is that we think we maybe have the right idea, but how do you get the idea through? And how do you get it bought off or bought in? How do you get the funding? How are you able to execute it? And so often there's someone in leadership or a partner or a budget constraint, and there's things that are in the way and obstacles. And this entire talk is about strategies, tips, tricks, and practical advice on how to remove those. I definitely share a lot of my own, and mostly my own are failures. I walk through all the ways my pitches have blown up in my face and all the ideas that I didn't get out the door and deconstructing why. And then I've gone out and I've talked to about 25 of the top marketers, many in higher ed, but many outside of it as well, and got their advice on what to do and how to sell things through. And so it ends up being a talk that walks through a lot of my failures in pitching big ideas, and then also some successes. You mentioned the bus tour at Southern New Hampshire. That took 7 months to sell that. And I go through that process as well. And so it's not just big creative ideas, it's also how do you build a team when there's no money to build a team, and just going through all the ways to implement and affect change when on the surface there's not really a path forward to do it. One of the things that's critical for us in marketing is that we're optimists and that we always think we can find a way. And this talk is really designed to tool up those marketers in the room that have that idea that they've been wanting to get done, but they know that the straightforward approach of just asking for it or requesting permission isn't going to work. And so through this talk, it's it's loaded with tips and advice from people far smarter and talented than myself, that all share, how can we get these things through when at least on the surface everything's against us. There isn't money. There isn't buy-in from leadership. We have too many other things going on. We've already been told no. How do we stay positive? How do we stay focused? And how do we get it done? And so, because at the end of the day, if the work's not out the door, it doesn't make a difference. And so this is really all about how to get the work out the door, make a difference, see the results from that, and then ideally snowball that into really meaningful change. It's a fun topic, and hopefully people won't laugh too much at my own stumbles in the past, but I'm not shy about sharing them because in hindsight, you can see through some of my past strategies, and then when you hear about some of the newer successes, it's pretty clear that that there's some fundamental best practices here on how to get big ideas through tough organizations and tough environments.
Awesome, Seth. Can't wait for it. We look forward to seeing you at Art of Marketing. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Kinja Dixon was crowned the #1 sales executive through hard work, deep thinking, and the revelation of universal talk laws. He now wants to share these lessons with you. Universal talk laws are what you need to know and use in business and at home to have successful and effective conversations. Kinja Dixon shares his wisdom, action plans, and wealth. Each book comes with a chance to win $10,000. Find Universal Talk Laws at KinjaDixon.com.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.